Hi guys, my name is Bobby. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm bringing you my August TBR. So there are a lot of new people here. There's new people here. I've gained about 70 to 80 subscribers in the past 3 or 4 days. I know you're here because of Becca. Thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate it. Becca shouted me out in one of her Reading Rush vlogs. Just to give a little preface, I was trying to vlog this week and then I scrapped it because it was boring. But to kind of give you a little bit of an idea of what you're going to find here, I know most of you who are new, who came here because of Becca, watched my vlog where I read the ACOTAR series and talk shit about Becca, even though I absolutely adore her. That's all in good fun. Just so you know, I guess. Like, I don't even know. This is so awkward because I'm incredibly awkward. See, I'm a shit show 90% of the time. I'm 36. I'm married with 2 kids. My kids are older. They're 14 and 12. My 14-year-old son has autism. So, you know, I talk about that a little bit sometimes. You see that sometimes in my vlogs with him. I don't wear makeup on camera. It's not that I don't care about my appearance, but I don't do this as a job like some booktubers do. This is just fun for me. This is a hobby for me. I just wanted to find a space where I could talk about books and talk about books with other people. Like, not many people in my actual life are readers. And so for me, it was like, doing this and starting a channel is something where I've met tons of people and I can talk about books with them and I've got great recommendations from them. So this isn't a job for me. This is fun for me. Also, I only post about once a week. I don't do it. I don't post 2, 3, 4 times a day. I just don't have the time. I work a full-time job. My job makes it so my start times are midnight, 2:30 in the morning or 4 in the morning. So because of that, like, I'm tired. I need sleep. I do have 2 kids to take care of, you know, with the virus and everything. My kids have been home forever. So, you know, there's that. So I don't have as much time. I only read about 4 to 8 books a month. It depends. Usually my number's right around 5 or 6. I don't read 12, 15, 40 books a month. It's just not possible for me. I do listen to audiobooks sometimes, but I'm not a huge fan. It just depends on my mood. Like, and Becca was very correct in everything she said about me. I give no fucks. I'm very honest about how I feel about books and everything. Like, I don't hold back at all. But I don't read contemporaries very often. I read more literary fiction than contemporary. So I read a lot of fantasy, not as much YA, more adult, but I have gotten into a little bit of YA new adult fantasy, so it just kind of depends. I do love horror. I like historical fiction. I like literary fiction, depending. You know, I'm kind of all over the place. But yeah, I guess, sorry to all my subs that have been here for a while. You know all this shit about me already. Also, I swear like a sailor. I'm not very eloquent with my speech. To me, swear words are, you know, sentence enhancers. They're not bad. So I do swear a lot. As for my background and stuff like that, I live in a small apartment. So I have bookshelves. I have one out in the living room. That's my new one I got for my birthday. I have one that's right off to the side right here that has a lot. It's full. And then I have this small one here that has a lot of my paperbacks and my Richard Lehman shelf. So my books are kind of all over. It's hard to film in front of my bookshelf because right now I'm sitting on my bed currently filming. It's the only spot really that I can film. So, and It's tried doing it standing in front of my bookshelf and with everything, but the way my bed is and stuff like that, it creates a tilt and it's no. So I'm back to sitting. And so anytime I move, because of the way things are situated, like, I can make the camera dance just by barely moving. So I apologize ahead of time. I try really hard to edit it out if it moves too much. But I do have some bookish shit in my background. Like that picture right there, that came out of a book box that is now defunct, but that is from Bird Box by Josh Mallerman. I have the box to my books candle right here. I have pictures of my kids. That's an art print from Nevernight. I guess if I pan up, like, I've got some supernatural stuff. So, I mean, there is bookish stuff. That's a sticker, which you probably can't see on camera, but that is from my best friend when she went on a trip. She got me a sticker that says, "I'd rather be reading." I haven't decided where to put it yet. So I do have some bookish things, you know. I do have some books here and stuff like that, but it is what it is. I'm that kind of booktuber. I don't have a really great, pretty aesthetic. I don't use fancy equipment. Currently, I film on my phone. I do have a ring light to make sure that at least I'm lit, and it's a tiny ring light that cost me $20. Other than that, you get what you get. What you see is what you get. I just kind of am who I am. But enough of that. Thank you for coming. Welcome, all newcomers. I hope you guys like what you see here. I mean, I'm not super fancy, but I do love to talk about books. So As for my August TBR, so there's a couple. So the first two I want to talk about are books that were on my July TBR that I didn't get to because Becca took over July for me. Literally, I threw my entire July TBR out the window, and I spent all of July pretty much reading fairy smut. No joke, you'll see in my wrap up. So I pretty much just read new adult like fantasy romances, which is odd for me because I'm not usually a big romance fan, but I have found that fantasy romance I do enjoy because the fantasy story and plot takes up enough of the plot where it's not just romance focused. And like one of my favorite series is the Sookie Stackhouse series, which is a paranormal like urban fantasy romance. And I love those books. So I do enjoy it. It's just, it's got to be done a certain way. If it's just a regular fantasy where that's what you're getting, it's supposed to be a fantasy story, and then all of a sudden this romance comes in and takes over the story, and that wasn't what I was prepared for going in, then I tend to have a problem with it. But that's what I spent most of July reading. Yeah, that's all I've read. So I threw out my July TBR, and there's two books from my July TBR that I want to read this month. And the first one is Funland by Richard Lehman. This is next to my Richard Lehman read along. I've been really bad about it. I'm supposed to be reading all of Richard Lehman's books in order, and I haven't been doing it. I did, and then I stopped because I was reading all of his older ones from the 80s and I think this is 88. So we're getting towards the end of the 80s. And he has since passed away. He passed away in 2001, so he's no longer making new books. So a lot of his books sometimes can be hard to find. I found almost all of his books on Thrift Books and some on Amazon. They're just hard to get, and most of them are all mass market paperbacks. That's just, I mean, he's an old author, and he writes horror and very what they would call splatter punk grotesque horror. His horror is not for the faint of heart. He writes they're very gruesome, very violent. There tends to be a lot of sexual violence in his books, sometimes gratuitous, but it's the kind of horror author he is. It's very 80s centric in the way he writes his horror. So I love it. To me, they're like palate cleansing horrors, which what does that say about me and my personality? But I absolutely adore them, and I stopped reading them because I want to get to the favorite ones. My favorite ones that I've read. A lot of these are rereads. Almost all of these are rereads, but I read most of them in my early 20s, so well over 15 years ago. So I'm rereading them. Funhouse is next on the list. I believe this one came out in 88, like I said. My copy's pretty beat up. But let's see, I'm pretty sure. No, 1990. Okay, so we finally entered the 90s. So this takes place in the summertime, so I would like to get it read this month. It's about a group of kids who, I think it's at night, they're in this amusement park area that's on the pier, something like that, and there's another group of kids who murder other people for fun at night, if you're out at night in stuff like that in Funland, and these kids kind of go against them. I remember bits and pieces of this, I think, when I read it originally, and I remember enjoying it, because I love anything set in carnivals, that kind of atmosphere, because it's kind of creepy to begin with, especially at night. So this is a violent horror set in an amusement park, pretty much. So I do want to read this. And usually what I did when I read these before is I would read it and I would do its own dedicated review that was spoiler filled. I know there's some people on my channel who that's why they subscribe to me, and then I've been really slacking and I haven't done it in months. So I promise I will read this month, and I will get back to doing the singular reviews. Next is, I'm so pissed I didn't pick this up, but Uzumaki by Junji Ito. This is a manga, a horror manga, and Junji Ito is supposed to be one of the best horror manga writers ever. Becca was so kind to instruct me on how to properly read a manga. I know you read them like back to front. So they're backwards from how Americans read them. And she said you start at the top, and she explained to me how to read it. So I'm excited to read it. It should be a really fast read once I actually start it. But I know this deals with spirals, and spirals are the horror aspect. From what I understand, it's terrifying. And all of his horror mangas are terrifying. But this will be my first manga when I actually pick it up. I was supposed to pick it up in July, but because of Becca, I didn't. So I will definitely be picking this one up in August. So next on my list is my book club book pick for the month of August. So Vicky from Vicky's Book Nook and I have been buddy reading books every other month for 2 years. We started back in 2018, and in 2018 it was right before I started my channel, and Vicky was getting ready to read Gone with the Wind, and so I never read it but wanted to, so I asked her as a subscriber if I could buddy read it with her, and she encouraged me to start my channel and yada yada yada. So since then, every other month we have buddy read something together, and it's gotten so bad with all the stuff we want to buddy read. we literally have our buddy reads planned through 2021. I think the last book we have planned is December of 2021. So I kind of had an idea, and I asked Vicky if she'd be willing to do it. If we just started a book club, and where the buddy reads we already have set that we want to read together, we just invite our subscribers to join us. So we did that. We created the Random Reads book club. I can't talk. And it's over on Goodreads. I'll leave a link down in the description. We will be buddy reading a book every other month. So August is our first, and then our next buddy read won't be until October. So you have all of August and September to get through the book. Not all of our book picks are super chunky, I promise. The genres go all over the board. And so for our first buddy read, we thought it would be fun to go back to our roots from when we started buddy reading and read another Civil War epic. So we will be reading North and South by John Jakes. This is a trilogy. This was also made into a TV miniseries in the mid-'80s, late 80s, maybe very early 90s. It starred Patrick Swayze. And this one chick, I can't remember her name. She used to be in soap operas. I just remember her face. I can see it in my head. But I remember watching it bits and pieces when I was a kid because my mom loves Patrick Swayze, so she had taped it. She recorded it on VHS and had watched it. I remember watching bits and pieces. And I remember there was a character named Ashlyn she was a total wretched bitch. I just remember that. And so from what I do remember, this focuses very heavily on the Civil War, yes, but it also, there's drama and family drama interspersed, so it's not just like a war epic. A little bit how Gone with the Wind is, where you do have the drama of the stuff going on at home, and it's not just about the war. And this is about two families. What are the families? The Hazards and the Mains. So they're two families. They're very, very, very close. And they've grown up together. The two main male characters are the lead sons or the elder sons from each family, and they're best friends, and they've grown up together. And then the Civil War hits, and they're on opposite sides of the war. I can't remember which family is which, but one family is very much a northern supporter and Union, and then the other one is very much Confederate, because I remember Patrick Swayze's family was the one that was Confederate. And so now they're on opposite sides of the war. They still remain friends, but they fight for opposite sides. So it makes it very interesting and hard to still be friends with people when they're on opposite sides of this very, very big war and a very important war. So this is book one. There are two other books. So far they're not in our plans. We do have like 2 or 3 holes I think 2 holes in 2021, where if we really enjoy this, maybe we'll rearrange some things so we can pick up book 2 like later on, seeing how we feel. So far the group has grown pretty much. I know we have over 100 people in the group, I think. We have Vicky started it, so she has it all broken down by section. You can read at your own pace. You don't have to read at the same pace we are. Vicky and I will probably read about 50 pages a day. And this book, my copy anyways, because I have the mass market paperback, is 810 pages, something like that. So it will take us all month to read, and maybe a little bit into September. We'll see how it goes. A couple people have started a little bit already. We're not quite towards August. I got like 3 or 4 more days till August. There's 1 or 2 people have started, and they said they're really hooked already. But I do know this covers a lot of the men in the war and what they're dealing with in their separate camps, and then the women and the people at home and what they have to deal with, and their wives, their sisters, their parents, how they deal with it. If I remember right, Kirstie Alley played her in the miniseries. I think it's the sister of the main male character in the Northern family, and she's an abolitionist, and she marries a black man, and that is just so unheard of in the 1860s, and it was a huge deal. And so she becomes part of like the Underground Railroad and like smuggling slaves out of the South and stuff like that, and she was all about that. So you get a little bit of that part in it. And then Ashlyn, I believe, is the sister of Patrick Swayze's character, who's from the South, and she's just a wretched bitch and just trying to get married to somebody rich, and is just a terrible, snotty human. So like you get the drama and all the stuff around the Civil War plus the Civil War epic. So I'm excited to actually read the books. I had no idea that they were actually a book series when I'd watched the miniseries. I thought it was just a made-up miniseries. So I'm really excited to pick this one up with Vicky and all of you. So if you'd like to join us, I will link the Goodreads group down in the description below. You don't have to join if North and South is something that doesn't appeal to you, because, hello, here's a Civil War epic, and, lately I've been reading a lot of fantasy, so it's completely off from what I normally read. there will be, so far there is no fantasy in our buddy reads because Vicky is not a fantasy fan. So most of our picks are horror, thriller. We have a Civil War epic. We have a couple literary fictions in there. We're going to throw a nonfiction in there. We just haven't chosen yet. So, I mean, it'll be all over the board. So if you don't want to read this, in October, that I guess I'll give a little hint, will be a horror novel. So if you want to join and just kind of watch what we're doing and then, you know, join in October, you're more than welcome to. You don't have to read the book that we choose. I mean, you can just hang out, visit, whatever. But yeah, I'm excited to get into this. I've had these on my shelf for a while. I was happy we're bringing in Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand. She's joining us in August for this because I know she has these on her shelves. Her and I had actually discussed possibly buddy reading it and joining in with me and Vicky when we did it, but now that we've got the book club, she has joined, so she's going to be joining us. So I'm excited to have Sarah. But yeah, so I'm excited to get to this. Even though it's a big, huge, chunky ass fucking book, but buddy reading big, chunky ass books always helps me get through them. Okay, so I have a couple other books that I'm gonna add to my TBR. I'm kind of continuing a little bit into the fantasy romance. I am a terrible person and Becca's gonna yell at me, but I haven't picked this one up yet, and she bought it for me for my birthday, and she's probably already rolling her eyes. But Fortuna Sworn by KJ Sutton. This is some kind of fae story, I believe. I can't remember the exact specifics. I just know Fortuna Sworn is like the last of her kind, and I can't remember what her power is, but I know it's highly coveted, and people were killed for it, I believe, if I remember right. I can't remember. I'm a terrible booktuber. I can't remember. And Becca's described it so many fucking times. I just remember like when she said it and described it, I really wanted to read it. I know her brother's gone missing and she's trying to find him. And there's this guy that I believe is a fairy who comes in and says he knows where her brother is and will take her to him, but she's got to marry him, and hijinks ensue. From what I understand, it's absolutely fabulous, really easy to read. It's just under 300 pages, shouldn't take me long. I was supposed to pick it up, but I got sucked into another series that Becca recommended, and my reading kind of went downhill a little bit after reading ACOTAR. So I still read quite a bit this month, but still, like, I haven't gotten to this yet, and it's July 28th, and there's only 3 days left in the month. And I can almost guarantee I won't get to this. If I do, if anything, I'll start it. And then, you know, then she can yell at me later. But this one will definitely get read. If I don't manage to squeak it in July, which I doubt I will, this will definitely get read in August. I'm very excited to read it. And with it being a gift from Becca for my birthday, I need to get it read. Speaking of fairies and new adult romancy shit, I have to look at my tablet because I'm reading these all on my Kindle. So I know I'll get book 2 done by the end of July, but I'm planning to read the last 2 books in the series. I think it's called the Bargainer series. So the next one would be 2.5. So it's a little novella about Desmond Flynn, who is the main male character in this series. He is the Fae King of the Night. And this series so far has very, very, very thick ACOTAR vibes. It is its own story, but you can tell the author was heavily influenced by ACOTAR and heavily influenced by Rhysand in general, because Desmond Flynn is very much like Rhysand. Only I believe he's a step above Rhysand in the way he's characterized. But the Emperor of the Evening Stars, and the author is Laura Thalassa. So that is 2.5. So that's his backstory and how he was raised and how he came to be the Fae King of the Night. And then I will read book 3, which is called Dark Harmony. So I'm almost done with book 2, A Strange Hymn. Like, I know I will get that done by the end of July. So then book 3 and book 2.5 will definitely get read in August because I can't put this series down. It's super fucking good. And I'm reading them on my Kindle because they're free on Kindle Unlimited. So if you like ACOTAR, I highly suggest picking up the Bargainer series by Laura Thalassa. It is very, very good, especially if you love Rhysand. High Rhysand vibes. And I think Desmond Flynn, who would be like Rhysand's counterpart, is a step above. And once you read book 1, you'll understand why. He is absolutely fantastic. And he's the reason why I keep reading. Because the main female character, Callie, I have some issues with her, but I love Desmond Flynn, and I will keep reading for Desmond Flynn, and he is absolutely amazing, and I wish there were fan art. Maybe there is fan art. Becca, have you found fan art? Laura Thalassa is an indie author, so that's part of the reason probably why her stuff's free on Kindle Unlimited. She writes a lot of new adult fantasy romance. I saw there was a new series that she's currently writing about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, so Pestilence, everyone but death is out. So Pestilence, Famine, and War are out. But Death is supposed to be coming out in 2021, I believe. Those look really interesting, so I may like pick one of those up. We'll see. I'm really liking Laura Thalas, and I like how she writes, but I've heard some not so good things about her earlier works, so we'll see. I just want to get the Bargainer series finished out in August. Okay, and I have 2 more books. So this, I guess, is also tailing on to like Becca being a bad influence. In August, I'm going to read Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas, which is book 2 in the Throne of Glass series. I know. I said that I would never read Throne of Glass. And I am totally opening my mouth and putting my foot in it. I'm totally eating a whole bunch of crow because after reading the ACOTAR series, which Becca told me to read first before this, and I'd already read Throne of Glass, and I wasn't a huge fan of Throne of Glass. So I read those, loved those. I love Sarah J. Maas's writing. So then, Becca told me, now read Throne of Glass because now you kind of understand where Throne of Glass is going to go because her writing gets better as she goes. And a majority of this was written first. So I picked up The Assassin's Blade, read that, and so now it's time to read book 2. I'm just going to read a small recap of Throne of Glass because I'm not going to reread that fucking book. It was 2 stars. So I know it doesn't get good to like book 3 or 4. I think it's 3. Air of Fire, I think, is when it gets good. So I need to get through this. And which is fine. I'm going to buddy read this with Cindy. So it'll be fine. I'll get through it. But this is, a hardcover book because I bought the entire series in hardcover and a hardcover box set because, I'm that person now. But I literally now own all of Sarah J. Maas's books except for A Court of Frost and Starlight. I'm not Maas trash yet. Don't even start. Not until I decide that I actually like this series. But I'm going to read The Crown of Midnight with Cindy. She also felt the same as me where my friend Cindy and subscriber, she read Throne of Glass, didn't really care for it, and just never continued, even though she had the whole series. So her and I are going to finish the series off together. So that'll be helpful to have somebody else to banter with, especially with this book and any others in the very beginning of the series that aren't that great and are very tropey. I just want her to get to the point where she's writing like she did ACOTAR, where like the drama ramps up and Selena starts being an assassin and all that shit. So I'm excited to get there. But yeah, going to be reading this one in August. So I've got 2 buddy reads, and this one is hefty chunky, but I can read this in 2 months. I have 2 months to read this one, but going to be continuing Throne of Glass in August. Who am I? I'm sorry to everyone. Like at this point, it's almost like I'm a totally different channel than I started. And last on my TBR, I definitely want to get this read. It was one of my July Book of the Month picks. And I have another July Book of the Month pick that I might try to get to if I can, because I need to change it up. I mean, like looking at it, I've got 1 horror, 1, this is considered YA fantasy, new adult fantasy romance, horror, Civil War epic, more new adult fantasy romance with the Bargainer series. So I need to like throw something else in there. So I'm going to pick up Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. So I'm so excited for this. I've heard nothing but good things about this book. I guess this is kind of in the same vein as Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. So it's very much a creepy, atmospheric horror novel that takes place in the 20s, I believe, 20s or 30s. So it's supposed to be really, really good. Murphy read it and liked it. And from what I understand, one of the twists she guessed, but the other one she totally did not. The main character is, I believe this is own voices. I believe the main character is Latinx, and her name is Nomi, and she gets a letter from her cousin saying that something weird is going on in this new estate house that she lives in with her new husband, and would she please come and be with her? So that happens. Shit gets weird. I've heard nothing but good things about this. And I'm really excited to read it. And it's a lot shorter than I thought it was. I thought it was a lot bigger than this. And the font is really big. It's only 301 pages. So I need to get this read. And especially to kind of spice it up with all the the fantasy and the fantasy romance. This will be a nice kind of, thriller, creepy palate cleanser in the middle to kind of get me excited for fall, because fall is my favorite season. And I know we're getting into August, but usually by August, I'm totally completely fucking over summer. And I'm just over 2020 in general. But I just really want to get to fall where it's rainy and windy and cold, and that's where I'm at. Okay, guys, that's it. That is my August TBR, my very chaotic, rambly, I never shut the fuck up August TBR. I've been filming for a half an hour. Hopefully I cut this down to 20 minutes because this is fucking stupid. But yeah, it's kind of ambitious. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-ish books, which I can do. I can totally do. I've gotten way better at reading lately. Like with all the virus stuff, I was really, really slumpy and really depressed and kind of brought down. Becca kind of helped me in July get my reading groove back by making me read palate cleansing fantasy fairy smut. So I'm now back into my reading groove. I'm wanting to read actively every single day. I actively turn everything off so that I can read, and I'm getting back into my reading groove, which really makes me happy because I've missed it. I've missed being, reading all the time, and I hate feeling slumpy. So hopefully we can continue in August. I hope to get all these books read. I know for sure I will definitely read Crown of Midnight, North and South, and the rest of the Bargainer series. I'm starting to feel like I like having a book on my Kindle going at all times, because at night when I lay down to go to bed, I can turn everything off and I just read on my Kindle till it's time to go to sleep. And I'm reading through those. I mean, I read the entire ACOTAR series on my Kindle and I flew through them. So I think having them where I feel more comfortable at night instead of trying to prop myself up with a book and my book light and all that, and it's just easier for me. So I'm going to try to always have something going on my Kindle. Maybe that's where I can get, indie author, new adult romances. Maybe that's the way to kind of palate cleanse and keep me going on that. Now that I've kind of found another niche that I like, maybe that's the way to do that, and then read my more deeper books or harder books physically. We'll see how it goes. But thank you so much for watching, guys. Thank you to all the new subs that came over from Becca's recommendation. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for being here. I hope you like it. But yeah, I'm going to stop fucking rambling now. You guys don't need to know everything that's going on. This is what we've come to. We just talk to a camera and just ramble on about your life because you can't go out and see anybody. This is where we've come to now. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Sorry for being a rambly crazy person, but